Figma, it means that the value is automatically being set for you. Right? In this case, the width is automatically being set to you for you. Meaning, if you type if you do something now, if I type into here, just like I said before, the width will increase. Like C increases to 204. Right? That's like the easiest way to understand fixed width of content. That one, which is like the main stuff that has to do with responsiveness, is field container. Like, the issue with explaining field container here is it's a bit tricky to explain with text. But when we go into it, when we go deep, like when we start doing the main auto layout stuff, I'll explain what field container is. Right? So I wrote a few things down here. Right? You see, hot content is applied to the main container. Right? You can think of container as frame that is housing another element. Right? In auto layer, we have stuff in almost all design to have stuff called child and parent layer. Child and parent layer. Oh, and by the way, before you start, before you even go into auto layout, you must know how frames work in the first place. Right? Because if you don't know how frames work, then you have issues with auto layout, because auto layout is based on frames itself. Right? So you can't add auto layout to a group. You must always add auto layout to a frame. So let's just move on. I don't know, can everyone still hear me? If at any point in time you find something confusing, probably can drop a comment, or just to not make the class very long, right? Just drop a comment and I'll probably look at it later. But can everyone hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Yeah, so as I was saying before, we have like what you call the child and the parent layer, the child and parent layer. So let me draw a frame now. Like if I draw a frame now, probably something call it, I'm probably call it a parent layer or something. If I add something inside it, I'm probably say child or something. This text is a layer, and this frame also is layer. Now, how do you know if something is a child and a parent layer? It's simple. If you look at your layer panel, you see this parent layer, like this frame there, and if you see this text, you see that this parent layer, right? I can drag these two things together like this, and they will move, right? Because this is my parent layer. And if something is a parent layer, you can always collapse and expand it. Right? You can see right here, I can collapse this guy, and I can expand it to show the content that is inside it. Right. Okay, so sorry, let's move on. So let's start with a simple example of what they are using a frame. Right, so let me draw like this frame, and let me draw like the content inside here. And let me say, as I said before, let me just draw like a child. I'm just write a child inside it. By default, the frame is not an auto layout, right? So you can see, you can see that this is not an auto layout. Like it has a parent and a child within it. To make this an auto layout, as I said before, I can use the Shift A on my keyboard. So if I press Shift A, you should see that the stuff squeezes, like the frame itself squeezes to fit the child itself. Right? I won't talk about like the hot container, all these features. And I won't talk about like the horizontal and vertical spacing. Right? Let's just talk about the hot content and all. Let me just pass that part through. So you have your parent here, as I said before, and the child that is inside it. And this parent frame itself is an auto layout. Right? Now, you can see that this is set by default to hot content. Right? The width and the height is set to hot content. What does this mean? It means if I keep typing inside this, just like the text option, just like the text I showed you above, the container itself, right? The container itself is expanding to accommodate the child's width. So child is expanding or something like this. the parent frame itself is expanding to accommodate what is within it, which is this child stuff here. I can add many things into the auto layout. Let me say I add like a shape, right? I can just change the color so that it's very visible. I change the color to red now, and I drag it onto the frame. You should see that it should give me this kind of visual representation, this blue line here, showing me that okay, I can add something within this frame. All right, so if I push this inside here, you should see that the 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 width increased because, as I said before, the width is set to hot content. Basically, increase as anything that's within my frame increases. Right. Now the second one as I mentioned before. I'm sorry, this up here. Oh. The second one I mentioned before is fixed width. The one I mentioned before is fixed width. Now, if I duplicate this frame right now, and instead of setting this to hot content, note what happens. If I increase the border, or let me just write more text into here. You can see that, okay, I'm going beyond the border of this frame, but the frame size is still maintained, right? That's the whole idea of fixed width. If something is set to fixed width, regardless of what you do inside it, the width will always remain the same. Now, if I come here and set hot content, you see that it expands now to feel okay, to feel what is inside here. If I set it to fixed width, it's set to fixed width, and then I can drag it again. Generally, when you drag frames or anything, you're setting the width to fixed width, right? You can see that the stuff I've changed here to fixed width and hot content. The stuff here I've changed to fixed width. So basically, when you drag the content, the size, whatever size, whether the width or the height of an auto layout, you're automatically setting the width to fixed width. Yeah. So that's like the basic understanding of fixed width and hot content. Now let's talk about fill container. I skipped it because it can be a bit tricky to explain with just text. So let's talk about let's drag this guy down and talk about fill container. Now the thing about hot content and fixed width is you apply it to the container, which is the parent frame itself, right? The frame that has the auto layout, right? Why the fill container? You apply it to the child frame. What do I mean? Like this, as I said before, this frame here is the child frame, and this frame here is the parent frame. If I want to add, if I select this guy here, and I select one of these, I won't see the fill container option, right? And it's based on, if you just look at how the name itself, fill container, is meant to fill a container, right? It's meant to fill an auto layer container. So if the container that is within is not an auto layer container, you won't see the option to fill that container. Or if it's not even within a container itself, you won't see the option to fill this container. You can see you have fixed width and hot content. Right now, if I select this guy now, you can see that this guy is inside the parent frame, and this frame is an auto layout. Right. So let me just write down some guidelines in fill container. It must be for you to apply a fill container. It must be within an auto layout. Right? It must be within an auto layout. And two, it must be within an auto layout. Let me think again if there are more guidelines. And it must be within a child frame. It must be a child frame, meaning not be within, that means it must be within a parent frame. So let me recap, right, from what I said about a child and parent frame. If something is within, the simplest way to understand it, if something is within something else, right, that is covering it, is called the parent frame, while the one that is inside it is called the child frame. Just like the normal understanding of a parent and a child, the child is inside the parent, like an unborn child is inside the parent's room, right? So the child is the one that's in the container, while whatever is inside it is called the parent frame. Right, so without knowledge, let's go back to field container. As I said before, it must be within an auto layout, right? If this parent frame, right, this cell, right, if it's not an auto layout, this thing here, you won't see the option to field container. You can see there's a field container right here, right? It is within first off, it satisfies the first guideline that it must be within an auto, and two, it must be a child frame, right? If it's inside an auto layout, then it's automatically a child frame. But it might be within a frame. Wait, sorry, give me a moment. Yeah, I say I'm back. Just as I was saying before, it must be within an auto layout and it must be within a child. It must be a child frame. That means it must be within a frame. Right, so let me apply field container and explain to you what it is. Let me first delete this guy first, and then apply this stuff here. So let me apply field container. Now you don't see nothing happened, right? When I apply the field container to it. But let me expand this and show you. Right? The whole idea, let me expand this parent frame and show you what I mean now. Now, if I select this guy, you can see that the width, right? This width is expanding to the edge of this to this part here. Right, so let me drag it again and show you what I mean. You can see that the width also still expands as I expand the parent frame itself. Let me illustrate it better with I think a shape will illustrate it better. Let me change the color of the shape or something. Change it to red or something. Let's delete this guy first. By default, this does not have anything. Let me change the width to field container. I can see that the width, like the width of this frame itself, has gone from the edge, from one edge, to the other edge. I'll explain to you why there's a space between everything here. But for now, just focus on this stuff that is within it, like this red frame here. Now, if I drag this other guy down, like the parent frame itself, drag it up, drag it down, drag up, you can see that this item within it also expands to fill the container. Right? So the name itself, if we set something to fill container, like if we set the width right to fill container, it will always expand to fill the space that is within that to always expand to fill the space that is within the parent container. Right. So before I actually move on, because we might be going to more complicated stuff, right? Not complicated per se, like just an application of everything we've talked since. Has it been clear since? Is there something that I should like recap? Like probably someone didn't understand one thing or another. Or you can probably drop a comment or probably just unmute and talk. I don't know if you guys unmute here, but probably just unmute and talk. Delete this. Can you guys hear me?
Hi, Godwin.
From here.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, please, can you come again? The fixed width, I didn't quite get how you explained it.
Fixed width. Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So let me just go back to fixed width one more time. So if you set something to fixed width, right? If you create this stuff, you create a frame, I make an auto layout of it. Like you can make auto layout with yeah, you can make auto layout with this icon here, or you can use Shift A. If you make it an auto layout and you add an item, probably let me just add an item, probably text. By default, like the frame itself, which I call the parent frame most time. By default, it has what you call hog content, and you can see that when you if you come close to this your auto layout, you can see that it has hog here, that the text here is hog, right? By default, it has hog content, which means whatever I put inside this auto layout here, so let me like drag something here. We always the auto layout. Then let me join it. We always increase the width of the auto layout, right? If I add more items inside here, it will keep increasing the width of the auto layout. Right? If I click adding more items to increase the width of the auto layout, right? But now if I set okay, maybe a situation where I don't want it to go beyond a certain width, right? Because now it's 143. Probably I don't want it to go beyond 200 as its width. This I think expands to 200. And if I keep adding content, it doesn't ever go beyond that 200. And nothing will make it go beyond that 200 because I said the fixed width to be 200. That is the whole idea of fixed width. I want this to be this width, and it must always be this width, regardless of whatever I put inside the frame. Do you get that?
Yes.
You get that?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So let me switch this to, if I switch it to core content to show all the content within it. Right, so let's close that. So I've gone through core content, fixed width, and field content now. Let me just show you how to apply some of these things to, no, let me explain. There's still some more content to auto layout I need to explain. Right, so as I said before, we're talking about width. We've talked about the fixed width, core content, and field content at the moment. Right, now you can see that I can apply the auto layout to both to the height. So all the things that we've talked about since, you can think of it of the same thing here. If I apply core content to the height, right, that means if it's going vertically in this case, like going down like this, if it's going vertically, that's what I mean by height. Right? If it's going down that way, everything that I talked about to apply to it is going down. So if I set my auto layout to, if I set direction to vertical, I set it to core content, it means if I add more items into it, it is going to go down vertically. Let me show you. I think it's better I just show you that now. And that will lead us to the next part of what I want to explain, the vertical and horizontal orientation of your auto layout. Right. You can see that we've all been working with stuff that are going from left to right, right? Horizontal layout stuff. But what if we want to create stuff that are going from left to right, right? From left to right. But what if you want to create something that goes down, right? Like something that goes down like this. Let me show you. Right. If you go to your auto layout, you see this option, this arrow here, the arrow that goes right and the arrow that goes down. There's also third arrow here, but this is recent. I don't think we covered this because you most likely will not use it a lot. I use it a lot, but it can get complicated. If I'm going to talk about it, it will be the last one. Right. So you can see that if I hover on it, I see vertical layout. Hover on it, I see horizontal layout. What this means is if I click on this guy now, I click on vertical, you see that it was first of all moving left to right, but now it's moving from top to bottom. Right. So if you set your orientation to vertical, your item is in your auto layout instead of going to the left or to the right. Right. It's quite easy to understand. Horizontal, the direction will show you. Vertical will go down, horizontal will go to the right. And so everything now applies. You can see in this place, I'm adding core content, fixed width since I can still do the same thing to here. I can say fixed width, core content to this guy. Now with core content, like the height is core content, meaning if I keep adding something down, the height will keep on increasing to accommodate the content that so accommodate the content that I'm putting inside it. So if I set this width now to the height to fixed width here, if I start adding more content into it, it will never go beyond that height because I've set it to fixed content. I've set the height to fixed content, meaning I've set the content, I've set the width, right? I've set the width that I don't want it to ever go beyond. Right, so let me delete some of this stuff and come back again. Right, so that's just the major idea of horizontal and vertical layouts. If you want your layout to go horizontal, you go from left to right, you put horizontal. If you want to go from top to bottom, use vertical layout. Let me go back to horizontal layout. You see if I click horizontal layout, it goes back to the layout that it was before. As it's spacing this padding, we'll come back to it. Now this other one here, you can see that there's this 4 icons here. You can see there are 4 icons here. You can see that there are 4, this diagram here. This just basically tells you the way your auto layout is going to be arranged. It just shows you the way the auto layout is going to be arranged. You can see if I hover on it, you can see align top left. You should align left. You can see align bottom left. You can see align bottom center and then align bottom right. Right. But sometimes when you create an auto layout, right, it's automatic. Sometimes it will be in the align center, it will be in the align top left, it might be align left. But let me just explain what every one of those things mean. To show that, let me expand this a bit. Now, I can see that all my is aligned to this middle here. Everything is in this middle here. That's because I've set it right here that it should be aligned center. But if I wanted to everything to start from the top here, like how most people are used to doing things, I can just how it look here, just how it looks here. I click and expand this more to show you what I mean. Expand this to small to show you what I mean. See, align top left. Now, starting from the top left. I should also tell you, as I increase this width there, by increasing this width, I've set the width to fixed width, just like I showed before. This width is no longer hot content, it's now a fixed width, meaning no matter how many stuff I print them out layouts, the width will never change. I just wanted to point that out. Increase the height, it's now set to fixed width. Right? You can always come back and increase, change it to fixed width and hot content. Right. So I have this stuff here. We want it to start at this side here. I want it to start at this other side here, at this point here. I just move my arrow to this point and it starts from here. I want it to start from the lower end here. I move here and then it starts from the lower end. I move here, it starts from this end. I move here, it starts from this end, and then I move here. It starts from this end. So that's like it's just like how to align the items in your auto layout. That's what this whole box here is about. Right? This other one here, like the one in the middle here is for the spacing. Right? It just shows you the spacing between the elements in your auto layout. Right? So what do I mean by spacing? If you look at these two items, there's a space between two of them. Right? If I add another stuff inside here, let's say I add another shape inside it, and that shape inside here, I'll just duplicate this. You see that all of them they have like a consistent spacing around them. Right? That's like the spacing. That's what the spacing between them means. I can always change this like by default, like whatever gives you like spacing of 8. I can change this to 1, which you reduce the spacing, between all of them to just 1. I can reduce it, I can increase it to like 20 or something. Which will increase the spacing around it 20. I can say the spacing between each and every one of them is 20. Well, let me just leave it as 8. But just put in mind, this icon here just shows you the space between each and every one of them. This stuff still work, like this spacing still work if I change it to vertical orientation. So if I change it to vertical layout now, and I have 8 here, right? You can see that it's still the same spacing, but this time it's vertical, right? The spacing between the top and bottom element. Right? So if I do 16, if I wanted to go back to my horizontal layout, it's in the same spacing between each and every one of them. Right. So this one here, as I said before, I said I was going to come back to why you're having space like around your auto layout like this. This icons here is this one here is your horizontal padding, and this one is your vertical padding. Right. So horizontal padding is the padding at both sides, like that's the padding at this side and at this side. Right, that's your horizontal padding. Why your vertical padding is the padding? Like padding just means space. Right? It is space at this side and at this side. Yeah. Space at this side and at that side. Now you can see by default, right? By default, layout gives you some padding, right? Could be 8, it could be 16. But I've seen most times I see that their values are mostly 8 or 16 that they give you. Right? But it also depends on what you put on your layouts. You can always increase it, which is what I'm going to show now. Now you can see that here I have an horizontal padding. If you look at this place here, I can see a padding of 16. Right? You can see this is 16. I change this to something like 8. You see that it does not affect the width, like the width of my auto layout. Right? And that's because, as I said before, I said this is a fixed width. Like nothing will change the width of this. Say I change it back to core content, everything is squeezed together. I just change only the height. Sorry, I change only the height to core content. You can see that the width is still fixed width. Right? The way mixing things like this is how you create some really crazy responsive layout. You can make some parts fixed width, you can make some parts core content. And that's the way you use, like, just mixing a lot of these things, you can create very, very responsive layout, which is what we're going to we talk about as we move on. I just, as I said before, I checked it to hog content, meaning it's not going to hog the content of my of the child elements, which is the element that are inside this frame. This this text and these two squares. I say, let's say for some reason also I want to like make the weight hog. I want it to hug the content of the items that are within the frame also. So I have these three items, and I have this you can see this spacing around him here. I don't know if you call it imaginary, but you can see that there's a space around him. So if I want to reduce the space, I can probably use something like I reduce the space horizontally, right? The top and bottom. I've reduced the space to 2. And now you can see that it's more squeezed together. Let me undo that. I'll probably use something like 8. Right now, this other one, the horizontal side, I can say the spacing is 19. Probably want to use something like probably like 12 or so. I put like the spacing around them as reduced now. Now you can see that this looks less spaced, right? Regard compared to what we had in the first place. Right. Also, you can change the spacing of individual parts of it. Right? You can see that when I do this, I'm changing the spacing on both sides, the left and right side together. But what if for some reason I want to change the spacing on just this side, probably on the left side? So it's almost like everything in Figma. If you see these 4 icons, like I mentioned this, if you see these 4 icons, it means you can expand that option, right, into 4 more options. As if I click on this guy, you see that this stuff into 4 more options. And now you can see that the icon changes a bit. You can see that this one now looks like it's on the left hand side, this one looks on the right hand side, this one looks like on top, this one looks like the top, looks below. So if I change this guy to 2, if I change this guy, that's the guy on the left hand side. If I change it to 2, you realize that the spacing around this guy now is smaller than the spacing around this guy, which is what I just did here. I just said that the spacing here should be 2 and the spacing here should be 12. Right? So here we have less spacing and here we have more spacing. It depends on what you want to do or the project you're handling, or you can choose whatever kind of spacing you want to use for yourself, for your project. Also for the top here, I can say, okay, the bottom should have like 2 spacing now. And then I have something that looks like this. Like still responsive because I can always increase the text. Since the content is set to hog content, so always hog the content of the only hog the content of the child layers, whatever is inside the auto layout frame itself. Now I've added all these 4 items here. If I close them, how does it look now? If I close my auto layer, you can see I have 2,12, 8,2, right here, 2,12 and 8,2. What this means is this side is 2, like the left hand side is 2, the right hand side is 12, the top side is 8, and the last side is 2. I can edit it directly here. Like I can say, okay, I want the top to be 10, or I want the top to be 20. 20, and the bottom should be like 10 or 12. Sorry, 12. Now it applies the top 20 and the side down 12. Right? Do it that way if I want to, or I can just use the same value for all of them, like 16. Enter 16 here. It has the same value top and bottom. Enter 16 here. It has the same value top and bottom. Right, just like a recap of what I was saying. These guys here, this
Sir,
one.
hello. Okay, so the time for this meeting is remaining 3 minutes. So we just have to like move to the next link. It has been dropped.
Okay,
Yes, we've
okay.
dropped messages for people. So we can just continue from that on that call on the next.
Just copy it.
Yeah. So everybody can start moving to that next link now before this call ends. Do it to copy the link. Lose it, please.
Okay, so let's just move on to the next thing then. I'll be dropping.
All right.
Please, are we
Everybody
moving to
can
you?
drop now. Yes, we are moving to a new link,
Okay.
and it's also on Discord. You can just copy it. It's there.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Um, I just like I was explaining before, we're talking about padding, right? Padding, like padding, like this one here is the horizontal padding, which affects the padding at both sides. And this one is the vertical padding, which affects the padding, which is the space. Basically, padding just means the space, the inner spacing between every elements on the top, between every element on the top. Right? There are also some shortcuts to access all this stuff, right? But I won't talk about shortcuts now. Like, start, before you do shortcut, you need to understand what's going on first. I said before, you can expand every other thing and change each values individually. You can see that I'm hovering on this value. If you look at the auto layout frame itself, you can see that some blue things are appearing on it to show you, okay, these are the different areas you're changing. Right? So just a little hack, a little just like a little something that will help your workflow. You can actually change your auto layout values on the canvas itself. Right? You don't have to always come here and change. So if you go on an auto layout like an auto layout frame, and you see that if I hover on it, you see the number 16 or so on it, which just shows me that the number, like the padding on the top, right? You can see this shading. It is my padding on top is 16. If I click on that, it brings up this 16 stuff up here for me. Meaning I can enter my padding here, enter 32, and so apply that padding to the top. Right. The same thing for the one on the bottom. Can play 32, apply it to the bottom, both sides. 32, apply it to this side. Right. Just for you to know. Something else, you can also apply, just like the way you did this horizontal and vertical pattern, you can do the same thing from the canvas. But this time, before you when you hover under your item, like the top pattern, the vertical, the top pattern itself, if you hold Alt on your keyboard, you should see that the other button too, the one on the bottom too, it gets highlighted, meaning, okay, if I click on this now, whatever I'm typing into, right, so let me show you what I mean. If I enter it, like, it affects the padding on both the top and the bottom. Just for if I click on it, I enter it, I'm affecting the padding on both sides. And that thing you can do is if you hold Alt, right, I like shortcuts a lot. If you hold Alt and you hold Shift, I can see that everywhere is now highlighted. Right? This is if you want to change the padding everywhere at once. I hold Alt maybe blue system. Now if I enter 32 here, sorry, I enter 32. I enter 32 here, I'm applying the padding everywhere. Right? Just for you to know. Right? You don't have to like put that in your mind, but I just wanted to push that out. Right, so we've talked about the basics of auto layout, the hot content, the fixed with the fill container. I think I'll go through config container again. The padding and so on. You can also click here to expand to see all this stuff, but ignore this for now. This is you were almost right. I almost never use it, so let's just ignore this for now. Although I know what it does, but you can ignore this ones for now. Right? These are the major things. Right? Every single kind of layout you see out there is done from core content, field content, and changing a few of these things for them to work. Right? Even this content that I did here is just a lot. I just wanted to show you. This is a lot of auto layout together, but still using the same idea. So if I expand this guy, you can see that the content is expanding, everything is expanding. Right? I use field container, I use hot container, I use everything to be able to get this stuff. And I'll show you how I did this. Probably not something as complicated as this, but how I did something like this with auto layout. Using just the same features, everything that I just talked about since to create that. Like what I just said from top to bottom now is like everything you need to know about auto layout. There's nothing. Someone drop a message. Hamida, you can talk. Badness, you can talk. Unmute yourself and talk.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah.
Please, I just want to ask if this session is being recorded.
Intention for that.
It's being recorded.
All right, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. someone else raised their hand. I think someone raised his hand again. Someone else raised their hand. Or if you have any questions you want to ask up onto this point, just let me know. You can just use like I'm mixing a lot of these things together to show you how you can create all this very advanced stuff with auto layout. I take it no one has a question. So let's just move forward. Let's move forward with it. Can I just hear something now?
Okay, sorry. If there's any question, they can actually drop it on the chat. Then I'll call your attention if you have one question.
Okay, let's start with this container here, this stuff here. Right, let's create something with it using auto layout. Oh, is this part of it? I'll go through it. Let's just create something like this using auto layout. Like, because you could say this expands, this contracts, this expands based on any stuff here. Based on what
I'm not seeing
I'm
your
here.
screen. I'm not seeing your screen.
Can everyone
I'm
else see
not
my
seeing
screen?
your screen.
I can see your screen from
You
here.
can, yes, if you're not seeing the screen, please just leave and come back. And it will be best if you guys don't interrupt him. If you have anything, please just drop it in the chat instead, and we'll attend to it. We're right here.
Okay, so let me just move on. Right, this stuff I will talk about. Okay, this one thing. Let me just talk about this before we move on because we use it on this place. When spacing out your design, there are different options you can use. Right? You can use like a normal. Let me bring that back. Like now you have this guy inside your auto layout, and you see there's a spacing normally around it. If you expand this auto layout, now it's like, oh, there's still this spacing around it. But what if you want a situation that this guy, this red guy, two of them should always be at the edge of your auto layout? There's something they call if you have done a bit of coding or front end, something called space space between, right? Space between. What that does is you can see it in a lot of. Let me see if I can open more and show you guys. More than I open. Yeah, maybe. I think my network is this bad. I'm not confident. Let's search for something. I mean, I just want to show you the pattern. Like it's very common in UI design. Like the space between option. Let me do this up. Let me show you. It's common within lists. For some reason, 1 minute is not looking. You can't find it here. Right, there you go. Back. Save this guy. Wait, slow. Let me just show you what I mean. Right. Most likely you've seen something like this. And let's say date and 12th June 2024, something like that. And you see the date here, and then you see the other one at the other side, right? Like the date is on this part, and then the text is on the other end. And even if you expand your phone, the text always stays at that end. There are two ways to do that. Yeah, there are two ways to do that. And this will be like, this is what I will explain what space between is. Now, if I want to automatically give a space between, like a space between my element, and I want the space to take over, take up the space that is remaining, how do I call space between in auto layout? How do I do that? Right. If I select, as I said before, this is this part here, this one here, has to do with the spacing between the elements within an auto layout. Like this icon here, I'm not explaining. Like this icon here has to do with horizontal gaps between objects. If you hover on it, you see the name horizontal gap between objects. If I set this to auto, what it does is auto layout automatically gives me a space between it. Sorry, automatically meaning it will always like fill the space in such a way that the items are pushed to the edge. Right, that's what I mean. The items are always pushed to the edge. Sure what I mean. If I expand this guy, like if I expand this one here, you can see that the text is always pushed to the edge, regardless of how much I expand it. The text always pushed at the edge. That's because I set this guy to auto, right? I set this to auto, meaning I'm spacing it like it's giving it automatic space. That's what you call space between. Like if you do front end development or anything, it's called space between. I'm giving automatic space between both elements. And so let me just push that through. I don't want to set auto spacing. Right? There's another way to do it. Right? You know, I've talked about fill container, right? If for some reason I always want these two items to always be at the edge, one container. Right? This is where you start getting the application of auto layout with using where you can use it to do very complex things. If I set one, right, if I set this guy to fill container, right, let me just come here, width. I set it to fill container. What do you think happens? The width will fill the container that is remaining, right? Now I've set it to fill container. It's going to fill the space that is remaining on this my container. But you realize that there's also something here, and it can't also fill. This one too is also filling the space. So this one has taken up his own space. Why this guy will fill up every other space that's remaining? What happens in this case is if I come here and I drag, this one has taken up his own space already. This is going to overthrow the space that is taken already. What this guy is also doing is just taking up the remaining space that are in it, right? So I keep dragging. It still has the same effect of what I did that time. Is this other guy is filling the container, right? He's filling whatever space is in the container. Now, you might okay, let's push this further and let me add another item inside this auto layout. Now you see what happens here. This stuff, the date, I said this to fill container. You remember that I said it to fill container. It's going to fill the space that is remaining in the container. But you can look at this. These two guys already are taking up almost all the space in the container already. These two guys, because their width is set to fit whole content, meaning nothing is going to take their width. Right? But this guy is filling container. It's just going to fill whatever space that is remaining in this container. But the space remaining in the container is very small. Right? So it's just going to take the space, right? That's why it's like this. That's why it's come down like this, because the space remaining on this container is very small. Now, if I want this guy to increase, that means I want to increase the space inside this container, I can try probably deleting June 2024. You can see the date now has come on that line because now there's more space for this guy to fill in this container. Right? Is that part clear? Because we'll be doing a lot of things like this when you have to do when you want to do responsive auto layout. Is that part clear? I'd like to hear from people. Is that part clear, or should I still come back again? You guys get that? You can just like send an emoji or something that you get that. Okay. Okay, so this one, let me start from beginning. There are two ways to do it. There are always two ways to do stuff for layout. You can always draw your frame first. Always draw your frame first, and then add layout and start adding item. Or let me just write, let me just do something like, let me now let me start with status for August 20 and 2024. This is why I was here. And let me duplicate this guy and write healthy. Let me duplicate this guy and write healthy here. And I've pushed these two guys to the edge. Now, I said I've not shown this before, but you can create auto layout in a lot of ways. Right? You can select an element and press Shift A, and then it creates that auto layout for that frame around you. By default, the auto layout will not give you a color, right? You really want to add a color to your frame or anything. Right? You can also create an auto layout by selecting two elements. Let's say I select this one, I select this one, I press Shift A to create an auto layout for me with these two elements. Right? I can add my field if I want to. Just say add my field here. Let me just remove my field for now. But now just know that this is an auto layout. And I can say this the width is set to hot content. Meaning if I come here, you can see that it's hogging the frame width is increasing, right? Healthy is moving away, right? Because the width of the frame is increasing, and the spacing between it is 85. That means this space here is 85. If I want to, for some reason, reduce the space between these two items, I can come here and probably do something like 24, which will reduce the space between two of them. Right? If I want to set it in such a way that this guy, the width will always be this now, and it never go beyond this, right? If I select that my auto layout frame, I set it to fixed width, the width will never go beyond this. Meaning, if I keep typing whatever I'm typing, you can see that the head is moving, right? But if I go to the width of my element, you can see the stops here. I don't know if you can see, but you can see that the width stops here, but the item has gone beyond my frame. So if you're used to doing stuff with frame, you know that the layers that are within your frame can always go beyond your frame. Right? But if I want a situation where it's something that's going to be on my frame, I don't want to see it. That's clip content, right? That's not auto layout and dependent. Everything like you can clip content. As far as the frame, you have the option to clip content. When you click content on an item, on a frame, you're basically saying that if an item has gone beyond the bounds of the frame, don't show it. So if I click, you see the healthy part has gone out. Right? If I unclip content, it's going to show it. I just want let me delete this guy. Let me delete this guy. And let me set the width to instead of fixed width, let me set it to hop content. Now it's going to hop the content. And now I can name this my frame because I want it to be top. I don't think that status something. Name it status. Now there's this other guy down here, which is the text. I can come here and write the text. This text, I don't know. Let's say down here. Okay. Get the idea. I just copy it. Then right. So this is a text. What I did is instead of having it like go as long as this, I just drag the stuff down here. Right, just to give it like some kind of weight. It's normal text stuff. Right. Now the thing is, as I said before, there are a lot of ways to create auto layout. This is an auto layout. Right? This is what we're doing now is mixing different auto layouts together. Right? This guy right here is an auto layout, and it's set to hot content. I can select this auto layout. I said another layer again. What I have here is an auto layout that is within an auto layout. Just like the way you can have a frame within a frame, you can have an auto layout within an auto layout. But let me undo it. Before we get to that, I just want to show you. I think auto layout for complicated stuff is you will set the behavior for each and every one of those items. That's just long talk for how do you want your auto layout to behave? Right? Do you want this guy? How do you want this item to behave? Do you want it to fill the container of the frame? Do you want it to hold the contents, or do you want it to have a fixed width? Right? In this case, I want this guy to fill container. Right? I want it to fill the container. Right? But this auto layout does not have a container yet. It's not clear. There's no container around it. So if I come here, I won't see the option to fill container because as I said before, fill container. Do you understand that part? This is like the main frame itself. Look at the sidebar here. You can see that it's not under anything. This other guy. So let's go back to what we were doing before. Now I select this two layer. I said before, a bit. I can select this layer, which is already an auto layout, and another layer, which is not an auto layout, and then press Shift A, which creates an auto layout for me. I can see that I have another auto layout. Like this is an auto layout. Now I can drag both of them together. They are both an auto layout. Now, if I go on my sidebar on this my layer panel now, if I click down, you can see that I have two items now. Status, which is this one that I added here, which is like this icon here. You see this icon here, this is an icon for auto layout. I use an auto layout. And then there's another one, text, which is a normal text. Right? So I have an auto layout here, which is the text. So I can say, okay, I'll probably this is my parent auto layout. My parent auto layout. And this is also this one down here. Now, something I want to do is I can set this guy to let me add like a white background around it. Let me add a white background around it. Now, for some reason, now if you look at this, the edges are too tight to each other. I want to space out the edges. Right? I want to give them more space around the edges. What do I do? Simply, if I'm doing this without layout, it should be a very stressful process. What I just do is go to my padding. Let me say this first. So let me say this first. To simulate this, let me say this first. Okay, as I said before, if I go to my main stuff here, I see my padding. Okay, because my padding is 0 now. That's why there's no space around it. So I give a padding of 16. Nice, I'm seeing some space around it. But you can see that this looks weird at the right hand. I'll show you. The reason why it looks this way is because if you look at this guy here, my auto layout is set to nothing will ever change the width of this auto layout. Nothing will ever change the width. Regardless of whatever happens to the item inside, the width will always be the same. So if I want this to also expand as this guy expands, I just come here, selecting my main payment auto layout, come here, I set to hawk content. Now it's going to hawk the content of the width of the container. Now you can also say, okay, I still want to add more space to the top and bottom, right? Because what I did now is just add space to the left and right. Right? If I want to add more space to the top and bottom, I just come here, enter 16. Now I have a space on both sides, and it looks nicer. Looks much nicer. Now I've gotten that part, we have gotten the whole spacing part that we have on this stuff here. And something else you want to do is, I want a situation like if you look at this guy, if I'm moving this guy around, this one too is moving around, right? And this one too is expanding, right? Which this is what I'm trying to. I think come on, let's just move on. Okay, as I said before, I added a padding and give it this nice spacing around, just like you see in most cards. It now has this nice spacing around it. Now I'm looking at these two items here. Like I have this my auto layout here. Like remember that I added an auto layout. This one here is an auto layout panel. this here is an auto layout, and this here is a text. Right. Now I want a situation where as I'm expanding this guy, the text also should be expanding to fill the, remember what I just said, to fill the container, right? Now I want this text to expand to fill the space within this container, which brings me, okay, which I've also just answered the question that I was going to ask. I want to set this to fill container, and I set the width to fill container. Now you can see that the width fills container, but the items still look normal, right? Nothing has changed in the items. That's because these items, they all have their own different configuration. This guy is set to hot content, meaning it will increase it. It will increase when I type something inside it, right? And so that guy too is set to only increase when I hide, which is hot, only increase when I type something in it. Now, just like I showed before, using space between, I can use the space between option, or I can set one of them to fill container, right? So if I set any of them to fill, if I set this guy to fill container, right? Let me say I set this guy to fill container. You see, he pushes this other guy to the edge, and because what this guy is doing is taking up the remaining space that is in, like the remaining space that has not been taken up by anything in this container. So effectively, it's pushing the edge, right? That's one way of doing it. But let me undo it and set this to hot content. Right? I can also set this other guy to fill container. Well, see what happens when I set it to fill container. You can see that, yes, this guy is filling the container. You can see that it's taking the space that is remaining here. The container is being filled, but it still has this weird effect because there's nothing else, right, on this text here. Like this space, I'm not waiting anything on this text field here. So it's just a blank space, but the frame itself is still taking up the whole container. And there are two ways you can align your text to the left hand side, right? This is text alignment. You might just understand I'm doing text alignment. This is not auto layout, so this is normal text alignment. I can align my text to the left. What it does is I'm like writing, I'm typing, is it good? I'm just typing from the left. It's the same thing now. Let me remove this from auto layout frame now. And I have this is how you normally type with text. And let me drag this normal things. But you can type from the middle, right? If you want to type from the middle, you enter middle, or if you want to type from the left hand side, type from the left hand side. That's why I did here. But this is not recommended, right? You can do it, there's nothing wrong, but it's not recommended. Instead, I also set this guy, like you can set this guy to fill container. Or this guy set to fill container too. Let me get to all content. This guy. And do what I did before. Select the frame itself, the status from the auto layout frame itself. I come here and set instead of 24, set it to auto. Right? It automatically give it a space. If I space it for you. Right? I hope that part is clear. Now I've gotten that first one. I think we can leave. Let's just use auto for now. Let's use auto for now. This other guy too. Now you can see that if I'm expanding this stuff now, you see the other is it good? It's expanding with my frame. Like I've gotten what I want. It's responsive. I've gotten what I want. Now, but this guy here, if you go to the width here, you see the width is fixed width. Like if I set to hot content, you just go long, which is not what I want. Right? But then you see the width is fixed width. If I set to hot content, to go long, which is not what I want, and then you have the option to fill container, right? Which is what you're looking for. So I said fill container is the basis of responsiveness. If you want to stop to responsive, you need to know how to use it. What I'm just saying here is this text should fill this width of the container, whatever width I have in the container. All this looks much better. Now it's filling the container. Now watch when I expand this guy. When I expand it, you see that it's moving because the text is filling the container, that the space that's whatever space that's in the container, which is good, which is what I want. Like I've gotten something like what I did here. Actually, the same thing like what I did here. Just I didn't style this. Let me just change the text. You see, if I increase this guy, it increases. This guy increases. This guy increases. This guy increases. Same stuff I did. If I do this guy increases, the other guy increases, this guy increases. Now, if you want to take this a bit further, latest update, not the latest update, starting, I don't know, 2 years or 1 year from now. They give you the option to trim text, right? You can see that if I'm dragging this guy, like if I'm dragging this guy, this is not auto layout something like you can do without auto layout. If I'm dragging this guy, you see that is it good coming into the status for August? This is not what I want, right? Because it's going to look weird. Sometimes you don't know, there's no way to solve this kind of problem, but there's sometimes that you can solve this kind of problem, right? But so I like going the issues. As I said before, the last 2 years or no last year, I dropped an update where you can trim text. Let me show you what I mean. So if you select a text, you go on this stuff here, this for you should see truncate text. This option is truncate text. And look at this preview here. You can see that it's going to add like a 3 dots by default. It's going to add a 3 dots for you when you reach the end, like the edge of the text. What does that mean? And let me do that. Now I select this, I set this to truncate text. Right. Now look at what happens when I try to squeeze this text. You see that it automatically adds 3 dots for me. If I go try to squeeze the text, it automatically adds 3 dots for me. Now if you look at what is happening here, like what I'm trying to simulate for you is how you use auto layout, how you think about stuff when you want to use auto layout. Some of these things might be a lot of manual, but when you understand how to use auto layout, it will become automatic. You can see that what I'm basically doing here is I'm changing the width, which is almost the same stuff as filling the container. You can see the width is changing. The width is changing. Meaning, if this is in a container, and I set this to fill container, if I'm expanding and closing that container, the width also be changing, just like it's going to start having this stuff. Now, how do we apply that to this guy here? Now we have this text here. You know, I said the main frame like this, the frame that contains the two texts. So I want this guy to be the one that will start having this dot dot dot. I set it to fill container because I want it to fill the remaining space in that container, which is nice and good. Which looks nice. Now, if I drag it down on that, you see it's filling the container. It's going to drop to the next time because it has reached the edge. But that's not what I want. I want it to have this dot, dot, dot. So what I do next, I come here. I select this truncate option, just like I showed you. I select text as truncate. What happens now is I move, nothing happens. But when I start dragging, when it has reached the edge of the text, just like when this one has reached the edge of the text, it starts giving you these 3 dots. Right? Start giving you these 3 dots. You see that start having these 3 dots down there. That's how you use truncate text. You can see this in a lot of other blog posts, right? If you check all these blog post design, you see that probably the last text was having dot 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 or something. Right? I'll do it here. Now let me do it here because it's in this kind of places that you see it a lot in text like this. Now let me say for a reason, I have a very long text. I put it inside here. I say that I have a very long text. My card. I want my card to only have like 3 lines. I don't go beyond 3 lines, right? And fill container as usual. When I come here, I see truncate text. I say, okay, I want to truncate this text. Now you can see that when I click truncate text, it opens something down called max line, or it's just asking you how many lines you want it to truncate the text at, right? If my height, if I have more than 1 line in my text, truncate the text, right? If I have more than 1, that's what I'm saying. My max line is 1. If it's more than 1 height, truncate the text. So I can only have only 1 line of text. If I set this guy to 3 lines, it means show me 3 lines of text and then truncate whatever is down there. Right? So essentially, I have this kind of a card feature. You see that this guy is truncating and this guy is truncating. So when you're working with layout, you try to add the behaviors you want to add to each and every one of the elements to just to give you the general feel that you're trying to get with that auto layout system, right? But just think of each and every auto layout as something separate, and then add your own behavior to it, so that when you're editing interacting to give you. Yeah, do you guys get that part? Because I know that it's a bit complicated. I don't know if everyone followed that part. I'm talking for some time now. They don't want to follow the last thing I said now. Like this whole stuff I just said now. Okay. Okay. I mean, if you don't get it right, I can always like show more light on the piece that you don't get. Right? But since everyone sees that they get, it's always good to ask questions. A lot of these things I found it confusing at first. So if you find it confusing, it's normal. If you find it confusing, it's normal. Well, I find it confusing at first, but if you get it, that's good. So it's something more complicated. Let's mix different auto layouts. Let's do something like this. Let's do something. I think we just do this and then call it like just call it for a day. Let's do something like this because there's a lot of auto layout mixing this. Let me start with the normal frame and then I'll explain everything like it's really step by step. We won't get something exactly like this, but we'll get something like something similar. Let me see. I just mean something the way the layout looks. Like normally I start with a frame. I start with a normal frame, which is 389. Nah, it's supposed to be 390. Let me start, which is like an iPhone frame. Right? If you click on a frame with your phone, 390 by 844, which is iPhone 13 or 14. You click on it, it gives you this frame. And then just reduce the background color a bit. I reduce the background color a bit. I'm probably call this phone. Now this is a frame. This is my phone frame itself. I always start with adding auto layout. I like adding auto layout to my main frame, but not all the time, right? A lot of these things depends on the kind of project you're working on. But in this kind of project, I know what I want to do. I add auto layout to the main frame itself. So I can press Shift A or come here and click on this icon here, which is use auto layout. It adds an auto layout. You might not say, and now there's a padding of 8 on both sides, but I don't want any padding, so I put 0. I put 0 padding on both, so there's no space at all within it. And you can see by default, you see that it gives me fixed width, meaning it gives me fixed width here. So even if I put something inside here, it's not going to change the width of this my frame, which is what I want. I want my iPhone frame to already be my iPhone frame. I can see that at this top here, is pushing it to the top of the frame for me, which is what I want. So I copy this status bar, which is like a component I saw, like Figma gives this kind of component. Let me just copy it from here. I copy this frame. I can copy stuff like Ctrl C copy and then paste inside an auto layout. So like the way you can paste a frame and then to stick like normal into the auto layout, or I just drag it into the auto layout as I did before. I drag it to my auto layout. It's now in my auto layout. You can see that the thing gives it automatically, it snaps it to place, right? That's the beauty of it. If I drag this stuff somewhere down here, I leave it, you want to snap it to the top, right? Because I set it to start from the top. I start from the top. And you see my direction is go down, like go low, instead of like going to the right. So everything is coming from top. Everything is coming from top to what's going on? Everything is coming from top to bottom. Everything is coming from top to bottom. Okay, right. Now, okay, I have what I want. Let me just copy this. This is also an auto layout. Then I can draw a frame inside that stuff. Right. So if I draw any frame, you can see as I'm drawing this stuff, it's sticking to a position. That's the right hand side position. That's because the main frame itself, I said before, I set it to always start from the top right. This is always starting from the top right. So I can drag it. Now look at this. I can always drag it. Like if you're used to designing normally without that, you always drag it like to the edge and then wait for it to snap. But I don't have to. So I'm just not clear. I can always come here and set this to fill container, meaning it will fill the container, and I don't ever have to worry about is this thing the right, does it fill the container the right way? I know that it has filled the container, and it has filled the container. Nice and easy. I move on to my next step, which is one of the reasons why I say it helps with all this alignment and spacing and with all this spacing and your alignment. You just know that it's going to work. Now, if I select my main frame, this is, I added this frame here. I'll probably name it navbar or something. Let me name navbar. Let me just add like a white field to it so you guys know that I added something. Okay, yeah. This is it. Right. Now, if you look at this my auto layout stuff, like you can see that there's a space between two of them. Like there's a space between two of them. You might not see that. But let me change the color. Let me just show you what I mean. I set the color to white now. I set the color of this status bar to white now. You can see that. Wait, sorry, this. Right, so you can see that there's a space between the status bar and this stuff down here. This hash stuff, something, there's a space there. But I don't want there to be space at all. Right, I want there to be zero space. So I select my main frame that has the auto layout. I can see that this space in here, you can see that there's an 8 here. I don't want to be 8, I want to be 0. There should be no space. I close it now. You can see that there's no space between them. And just this guy also now is also an auto layout. This guy is also an auto layout. Now remember that this major frame here is an auto layout. I can also come here and then make sheet A to make it layout. I can set the width. Now I know the width my navbar normally is like my navbar is normally either 40 or 48. Right? So I mean the height, sorry, the height is normally 40 or 48. Right? So I don't ever want it to go beyond 40. So I can come here, enter 40, and then make sure that it's on fixed width. I know my stuff is on fixed width. Now you might be wondering, is this how I do everything one by one like this? When you use auto layout a lot of these things becomes automatic, right? I don't always come and doing one by one. I just want doing this to show you, right? Just to show you how to do, how I go through everything step by step. But normally, I have a lot of shortcuts. I do a lot of these things. But like just stick with me. I said the width to fixed width, meaning this my navbar will never go beyond 40. Like this stuff will never go beyond, no matter what I put. Like I said that I set this to horizontal layout, meaning everything will flow from left to right. Right. So I can set this guy to middle, meaning everything will start in this middle. So let me I copy this icon. I paste this icon. I want to remove this field, so let me just remove that field. So it's just going to be plain. Right. I paste this icon. Now you can see this icon automatically placed in the middle. If I drag it into this frame, I drag the icon to this frame, it automatically pushes it to the middle for me because I've set it right here that I want my player to start from the middle. Everything should start to align to the middle, which is what I want. Now I can copy this other guy, this icon, come here and paste it inside here. Everything is aligning to the middle, which is what I want to happen. Now, actually, that's not what I want to happen, but I just want to simulate that. Why rather than to go to good edge? How do I do that? Once again, I can set this guy to fill container, but that does not make sense in this case. The icon should not be like spaced out like that. Instead, I just come here, go to where I have my space between the edge and this icon. Isn't it too tight? Yeah, it is. Now, most times, if you are designing for mobile phones, you use the spacing of how you want your padding to be. Right? Now, so I want to increase that, which tells me the space between both sides. I say, okay, I want it to be like 24. Right? Enter 24. and then it has the 24 on both sides for me. I don't have to like come here. Like if I'm doing it normally, like if I'm doing it totally, I have to shift everything one by one, then check, shift this guy, then come and check. It's what I just did now. I just enter 24, and I'm sure that both space between both of them is 24. You can see that it has a border radius. So I can just come here and put like a very high border radius so it will look like a circle of like 100,000. Now it will look like a circle. I'll probably call this a capsule or something. Call it a capsule. There's an image within it. Let me make this an auto layout first. Shift A. It's now not it's image. I copy this image, copy it, come here, paste it inside here. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, put inside here. You can see that the capsule now squeezes to fit that image, right? That's the whole idea of auto layout. It squeezes to set to hog content, is hogging the content of this image. Copy this text, this is my text here. Copy it, come here. Now you see that my auto layout is set to the horizontal direction is set to right, meaning anytime I paste inside it will go to the right. So if I paste my text inside here, it will go to the right, right, which is what I want. Paste it inside here, also go to the right. If I want everything to go down, I select, click down, everything will come down, which is not what I want. So to make sense. That is what I want. Now you can see that, okay, but this stuff is not aligned properly. It's not aligned the right way for me. That's because everything is starting at the top here. If I want everything to align to the middle, right? Align to the middle, right? Click on this middle guy here. See, everything comes down a bit, and everything is now aligned to the middle. Right? Which is nice and good. But I also don't like this, the width, like the height of this is too much. Let me just set the width, height for myself. I set 32 to reduce the height, and this guy now is too much. The padding between this guy now is too much. Let me reduce the padding. That's the space left and right. Reduce the space to 4. Now it looks nicer. It looks something closer to what I have here. I copy it. Come here. Are you guys following me so far? Are you guys following me so far? Okay. And it's clear for you guys to you guys are understanding it, right? Right. So let's move. So I said before, I've created this stuff, this capsule here is an auto layout itself, right? I copy it and I come here inside this. I've created this auto layout before, and I said the spacing to be auto, meaning it will automatically space everything for me. Now I didn't show this in the last list, but you can have more than one element, more than 2 elements in this, like in an auto layer that is spaced, like given auto spacing. So watch when I press enter, watch what happens. It spaces it gives it gives every one of them an equal spacing among them. That's why I said auto spacing. It gives them an auto spacing around there. Now I want this guy to be in middle. Oh, I also didn't show this. You can move things around in an auto layout, right? If I select something, I can move things around in auto layout, right? That's very easy. Just move them left and right, and the spacing on everything that's been applied, it will still keep the same spacing values, and everything will look good. Or you can drag them around, but it's harder. Like if I drag this guy around, I have to drag it to this guy here. It's harder to drag it, right? And just like use your arrow key and move it to right front, right front, right front, right front. I have something like that. Right. So nice. I have something similar to this already. I move down. I move down. So now I want to add another frame, right? Because this whole thing down here is in a frame, right? This whole thing is in a frame. And another thing about working with auto layout, it makes you think like how devs think when they design things, right? If devs are designing like a mobile app or a website, they think in terms of divs and containers, right? Your frames, you can think of them as containers, right? If they're developing something like this, or if you're using Web3 or Figma, you'll be creating what they call frame across the sections. I forgot to. I've been creating containers. Adding containers to containers, and putting content inside containers. I just wanted to push that. I just wanted to like say that. Now I want to add another frame inside here, and that frame will contain every other thing that I have here. So I select my frame, which is A, my frame 2, which is A, and then drag a frame. Now you can see that the frame is just always from the top, right? Because I set my outline to always from the top. So I drag my frame like this. I drag it anywhere. I don't have to like start moving it so I can accurately put it at the edge. No, I just drag it anywhere and then come here and set my fill container. It's always going to fill that container. Now I have this guide down here, and I also want this my want to also fill to reach the end of this container. The same stuff. I add the width. I set the width with the height to fill container. So to come down and fill every other space that I have here. So I have a container now that contains that is filling both the width and the height for me, right? Which is good. Now I add an auto layout to this my container. Maybe I can name it container. See all this stuff I'm naming my frame. I don't name my layers like this. I'm just naming so because I hardly name my layers, right? But you have this can put this container here and then make another layout of it, shift A to create another layout of it. Now it gives say automatically it gives a padding of 8, right? But I don't want 8 to be my padding, right? You realize that I added a padding here of 24. I want 24. Let me add a feature so you see the content I'm talking about. This is the content I'm talking about. I want there to be a space between this my nav bar and then this my other container down here. Now you see that it has a spacing of 8, which is good, but I want there to be more spacing. Add 24. Let me just put 24 spacing top and bottom. Right? I have top and bottom spacing of 24. But you might say, okay, probably I don't want to have that spacing at the bottom to be 24. I can click on this guy down here, right, and say, okay, just leave your spacing at the bottom to be 8. The top should be 24. Why the one at the bottom should just like this spacing here should just be 8. Why this one at the top is just 24. Nice, like let's move forward. I've gotten that part down. And let's clear the white fill because I don't want the white fill again. Now, I want to create something like this. I won't create something as complicated as this, like for something simple as this. That's something similar to this. How do I do this? First of all, look at what I want to create. Okay. This is an auto layout, and this is another auto layout, and they are both inside a frame, an auto layout frame. So let's create them one by one. That is this top part, this income part. Let me drag it up to show you what I mean. This is this top part. This is an auto layout. Let me create something like this. So I create this, drag something down like this. I think when we create this top, we've created something like this before. When we create this top, this is complicated, right? This part is complicated, but we ignore this part for now, right? Because it involves graphs, and graphs is something that you learn how to do later, right? It's not layout based something. No one can learn how to do graph, right? But let me just continue. Now I've add a field because this one has a white field. I add a white field to it. I set the width to fill container, right? Because I want it to fill it to go to the edge of the container. It's gone to the edge of that container now. I make it an auto layout. Shift A, make it an auto layout now. It's set to the width. I set the width to fill content. The height is set to all content, which is we can leave that for now. Right, so let's add some text inside. So if I add a text called income. But see now, everything is squeezed down to fit that text. But I see everything here is coming from the middle. I want it to come from the middle. So I come here and set it here. Set to middle. Nice, which is what I want. Now, you can also see that for everything we've been doing since I've been going from left to right. But now this one is going from top to bottom. Right? The text is going from top to bottom. I come here and I set it to bottom. I come here and set it to bottom. Enter, select my text, and then I can duplicate my text, right? Duplicate is Control D, right? Or Command D if you use the Mac. Duplicate it. You see that it carry, which is it? It's coming down instead of to the left or right because I set my auto layer to come vertically. I can increase the text size to increase the set size to around 24. Right, and maybe make it bold and 12 to $80, just around $280. Right. I've gotten something similar to this already. Now I have this other thing, this PO stuff down there. I come here, I duplicate this one because this text, get it, and then I use my arrow key and push it down, right? Because I want it to come down. Then, oh, now I want to create something like this, and I want it to be in a situation where if I'm increasing my text, the peel, like the red frame, should also be increasing. So I'm making an auto layout and set it to all content. So Shift A, make it an auto layout. Then the fill, change the fill that reddish color and just select this color, like this red color, and then change the text color to red. Change the text color to red, something like this. Right. Now you can see that my auto layout now looks to squeeze together. You can see that because everything here is the horizontal padding is 0 and the vertical padding is 0. I can set my horizontal padding to something like 16 to give me more space. I set the vertical padding to something like 4. I think if I do stuff like 12, 16 looks too much. And then I can set my rounded edges to something like very high value so that it already looks like circle. Right. Now I have this guy. I look something similar to this. Now I can do something like 5% down from last month, which is good. Or I'll just like bold the text. I'm bolding the text here, which looks good for me now. Right. Now, since I said this to all content, no matter what I do, like no matter how long I keep typing, it will always expand, feed the content with that text. Right. I select this guy. Remember that this is my main frame itself, right? This is my main frame set to all content. But for some reason, I don't like that the fact that the space is too small, top and bottom. I want to increase the space top and bottom. I come here, I set something like 24 to increase the space top and bottom. Now if the space looks better, top and bottom. And this 8, it looks a bit too spaced out. Right? Wait, let me just increase my text first. This text looks small. Right? It looks a bit too spaced out. Right? Like this guy here. If I come here and set something like 2, it reduces the space, which is much better to me. Right? So I've gotten this first guy here. Right? Instead of coming down and like designing from scratch again, I can just duplicate this guy, Control D. Right? So I'm duplicating an auto layer frame, like this frame is this container frame, and it's set to down. If I duplicate it to come down, right, I don't have to worry about shifting something again. Now, the thing I want to do is I want to reduce this space. I want 2 of them to be in a frame itself, an auto layer frame itself. I select these 2 items. Remember that these 2 items are auto layout on their own, and then some of them they have like this auto layout within them. So you can mix a lot of auto layouts together. Right, so I select this guy. I select 2 of them, these 2 frames. Select 2 of them, and then press Shift A again, making this guy an auto layout. Right, so I can say something like amount container or something. Now, it's the spacing. If you look at these 2 guys, the spacing is too much on this other guy. What do? I want to reduce the spacing here. I come here, right? They say it's setting to something like 1. The spacing looks better. Right, so you see what I'm doing? Like, it's just like going to my auto layout. I don't like this value. Change the value. Go to my auto layout. I don't like this value. Change the value. That's how you work with auto layout. Yeah. So I have this guy here. I have this guy. This other one is green, so I can just come here and change this color here to green. Use that guy here to green also. Let's do something like green. Then we'll have something similar to this. Now you might be wondering, okay, how do you get this rounded edges on this stuff, right? Remember that this is an auto layer frame, which is also a frame, meaning if I select this frame, what's this? I've not seen this before. Right. So I select this frame here. If I select this frame, like this is a frame itself, I can always come here and add a rounded edge to it. Like I can run a random edge, rounded edge of probably 16. Says this 16. But you don't see anything. Right? There's nothing that happened because the edges are not clipped. I didn't clip the content. I say if I clip the content, right, that means my frame already has rounded edge. Right? But because of the content, like this unit has like sharp edges, it's going beyond the content of my frame. The only way for me to see that around is to clip the content, to like cover the content of my frame. That's what the clipping content means. So if I clip content, now I should start seeing my rounded edge around this guy. There's one last part about layout I want to talk about. There's one last part I want to talk about layout, which is absolute positioning. Which is actually the idea is anti-auto layout, right? It's anti-auto layout, which is against auto layout. But the whole idea of absolute positioning is if you want an element that does not respect your auto layout, but still keep it within an auto layout, you use absolute positioning. What do I mean? Like this text, I want to be able to move it up and down, but it's still inside an auto layout. Normally, you are not able to move things like this. Like you're not able to move things like that in an auto layout. You just snap back to where it's supposed to be. You move it like this to come back to where it's supposed to be. But this guy, I'm moving it up and down anyhow. The way to do that is to set it as an absolutely positioned element. Let me show you what I mean. Once again, if you do coding, you understand what I mean. Like if I copy this guy and I say I paste it inside here, I paste it inside here. And let me remove the absolute position. Normally, with an auto layout, it should come to the bottom, right? So this auto layout is set to flow down. It should come to this bottom here, right? To the end here, right? But if I don't want it to respect this auto layout, right? If I don't want it to respect it, I want it to just be something that moves around freely. I can set it to an absolutely positioned element. How do I do that? There's this option here under position. If you select it, you see ignore auto layout, right? Quite absolutely positioned, and I start dragging it up. I can move it around like a normal. I'll move every normal text, even though it's even although it's inside an auto layout, I can still move it around as I move any other text around. Right? I can always come back and remove the ignore auto layout, and then it will snap back to the position that it's supposed to be. I add the auto layout, I put the same thing, and then I can move it around as normal. Right? I cannot ignore auto layout to any element. Let's say this one now. I said to ignore auto layout. I can move it around anyhow within that frame. If I undo it, it comes back to its position. And yeah, that covers like everything that I have on auto layout. I think I've covered every single thing in auto layout here. Everything from top to bottom. As I said, this guy, I can ignore these ones. I hardly use them. Just like understanding what I just said now, and probably practicing what I just said specifically, right? Because it can get confusing, and I don't want to like pack too much information at once. I'm not going to talk about WAP. You can always learn about WAP later, or probably if you can send me a DM, I can always tell you what WAP is. But simple YouTube video will tell you what WAP is, right? It's not very complicated, but I don't want to about it. Just regarding what I said from top to bottom, ask them now. Ground is any questions? Any questions? I don't think anyone has questions. Jane, I don't know if you're still there or
Thank you so much. Good. So you're done, right?
yeah,
Just confirmation.
yeah, I'm done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that very long and exhaustive class. I'm sure that by now, people who are having, people who have been confused about one or two, they must have gotten one or two clear for them. People who are starting out must have got the ground running. Just keep running like that. Yes, thank you for the reactions. Thank you so much. Since there is no hand raised, I don't believe there is any question anyone has. Okay, someone has a question. So, this is for you. Please, my question is, if you want a responsive design across all devices, you must make your frame an auto layout. That's a question. So, must you make a frame an auto?
Once you're designing, right? If you're designing,
Sorry. Okay.
I hear you.
Yes, definitely. Can hear you.
Let me open a file. If you're designing, right, you design for web, you design for mobile, you design for, I don't know, depends on where you're working quickly. That is for responsiveness. Probably you want to show a responsiveness between probably one side of the screen, one side of the mobile screen, and another side of the mobile screen, right? Or you want to show if I expand this guy, if I contract this guy, how will this look? That's ultimately our point. If you're designing, and let me show you like this, like a cycle. If you're designing, you're going to design a desktop view. You're going to design a view. Right? Um, there's some interactions that happen. Some things that happen when you swim there to mobile. You cannot just get auto layout. It's not a matter of being responsive. There's some layout that will change totally when you move from desktop to when you move from probably from a platform to another platform. So as I said before, we are going to design like for desktop to mobile. You're going to design two different screens, the desktop and the mobile